Welcome to NARAL's The Morning After. Each Thursday, our podcast brings you the latest on reproductive health care, progressive politics, and the fight to keep abortion safe and legal. NARAL's The Morning After is a production of NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Pro-Choice OH. Enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Gabe.
Hi, I'm Vashitta. And today we have some topics to talk about. Since I've been here, 3 weeks now, it has never been a dull moment.
Yeah.
So first on the list today, definitely not I guess something that's out of the ordinary nowadays, but Progress Ohio has filed a complaint against Supreme Court Justice Sharon Kennedy. And apparently it's because she has spoken, I think it was a fundraiser,
Yes.
with Greater Toledo Right to Life. And, this comes around the time that the High Court is also going to hear a case about the Toledo abortion clinic closing.
Right.
Yeah,
she spoke, I believe it was in March.
Yes.
And this was after we all understood that the Toledo case was headed to the state Supreme Court.
Absolutely, yes.
So, many people feel that this is an instance where she's become too close to one of the organizations that's been pushing this case.
Which it seems like there has been some relationship prior to as well. She did have their endorsement, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But one of the conditions that you have to accept as being a Supreme Court justice is, there are regulations, and that's like you cannot create any type of bias in your cases, and obviously this creates a bias.
Right. Right. So Progress Ohio put out the statement about the complaint that was filed. They were not the only ones to do so. NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio was one of 51 different individuals and groups that signed on to this complaint. The quote from our own Kellie Copeland said that the executive and legislative branches in Ohio have passed a series of laws that compromise women's health. The judicial branch must be beyond reproach.
Yes.
They're not. If she stays, if Sharon Kennedy sits on the bench to hear this case,
so essentially, at this point, she needs to recuse herself. But as it goes, I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, it should. And we're not the only ones.
It should.
Right. We're not the only ones calling for this. Back in March, after it was actually the Cincinnati Enquirer. Their reporting sort of made this public.
Okay.
And we responded to a request for comment from them in March. And immediately after their reporting broke the story, the Columbus Dispatch weighed in, and their editorial board agreed. And they said that, a judge must refrain from speech, gestures, or other conduct that could reasonably be perceived as bias or prejudice. And so they said, the Dispatch editorial board said, hey, yeah, she needs to recuse herself.
Yeah, absolutely.
The head of the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice, Maureen O'Connor, she issued a statement saying that she didn't feel that it was necessary. And then, Sharon Kennedy hasn't said that she would step down. And so that's why Progress Ohio's statement became necessary. After this, the press release about the filing came out, the Cleveland Plain Dealer editorial board, they sat down and had a little roundtable and asked all the members of the editorial board, well, what do you think? Sharon Broussard, the chief editorial writer for Cleveland.com, said the life of an Ohio Supreme Court justice comes with some uncomfortable but necessary restrictions, including the demand that you avoid creating a perception of bias. Justice Kennedy's March speech to the anti-abortion group crosses that line, especially in light of the judge's voter survey answers 3 years ago, which is what you're referring to. The justice should recuse herself, and I support an investigation.
Absolutely. This is just something that we're definitely going to keep everyone, we're going to just let everyone know what's going on. We're going to, keep in touch with everything that's going on. But you know, at this point, I definitely feel like she should definitely recuse herself from the case, and obviously a lot of others do as well. So
right. The case itself is about the Toledo Abortion Clinic, Capital Care. They are one of the clinics in the state of Ohio that are most immediately affected by the restrictions that John Kasich has passed. That's what in Kellie's quote that I read earlier, that's what she was referring to as, you know, the executive branch creating rules, the legislative branch creating laws that are attempting to restrict women's health care.
Mm-hmm.
The law that's affecting them is this transfer agreement law, and it has no benefit to women.
Yeah.
You know, there's no upside to this for Ohioans seeking healthcare, seeking abortion care. And a couple courts have already ruled and said, hey, you know, this is an undue burden.
Yeah.
So these restrictions should get tossed. This case to the state Supreme Court is not the first step. It's just the latest.
Absolutely.
And, you know, so really we don't feel that the state Supreme Court needed to hear this case at all, since there's lower court precedent. But when they do, there shouldn't be a sitting justice with an existing relationship with one of the organizations that's been pushing this issue. And that's
exactly what's going on here. So.
Right. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this.
Yeah.
We're asking folks to write letters to the editor. Let them know, you know, what are your views? Do you feel that justice with a relationship with a right to life organization should hear this case? Odds are, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably agree with us. So write to your local paper.
Absolutely. And if you guys need any more information, let us know. You know, we'll try to provide you with everything that we can.
Right.
So speaking of clinics, I guess this is a good time to talk about Iowa's closing of the 4 abortion clinics.
Yes.
Yeah. So apparently it's due to the lack of funding. Oh, the cuts, I would say.
Yeah. Defunding measures. And it's 4 clinics in the state of Iowa.
Which actually, I think they have cared for about 15,000 patients between the 4 of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people without that type of health care, and it's just really an unfortunate situation.
Right. There was a statement on this put out by NARAL Pro-Choice America's president, Elise Hogue. She said, these shuttered clinics are a wrenching preview of what could soon play out across the nation if President Trump and GOP leaders pass their dangerous health proposal. Today must serve as a wake-up call for the entire nation about just how much is at stake in this fight. Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely a true statement, and only one can imagine what's going to happen from here.
Right. I mean, if you're a low-income woman in Iowa and you're seeking reproductive health care, family planning care, access to contraception, you can't just walk into any health center, even if it's a federally qualified health center. These are women who chose Planned Parenthood. They're counting on Planned Parenthood. Right.
Easily accessible, you know, cost, health insurance, all of that plays a part in that. And so for these women not to have access to that health care, you know, there's just going to be, it's going to create a lot of, I don't want to say problems, but, you know, ultimately that's what it's probably going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it'll definitely cause problems for women. You know, we've heard countless women who've come forward and say, hey, Planned Parenthood, you know, caught my cancer early.
Exactly.
You know, helped me have a child. There are many instances where this provider has been a gateway to the healthcare system. And now 4 communities across that state which
want to be without.
Yeah, you know, and Iowa isn't too significantly different from Ohio.
Absolutely.
You know, we've seen Planned Parenthood defunded twice here in our state. And Republicans are continuing to look, you know, what is the next way that we can, you know, attack this organization.
Exactly.
What they're doing down in Texas is equally scary. And, you know, women will lose access to healthcare because of this.
Yeah, it still kind of blows my mind that the funding that they want to cut is for women who actually are the child bearers. Like, it just, I just can't wrap my mind around like why that's a good idea, why that is okay. You know, like, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's completely political, you know. Again, there's no healthcare benefit to the people that
it's
these
political.
politicians are supporting.
They're, very misogynistic, sexist. I mean, it's a lot that goes into it, because clearly a woman does not matter, is what they're saying. A woman and our reproductive health doesn't matter.
Right. I mean, I wish that was not the case, but
yeah,
I've never had a protester outside my doctor's office.
Exactly. As a man, you don't have those problems. You don't have the same concerns, of course. And as a man, you would never understand. So it's like, for them to make those type of decisions on behalf of women, it's really despicable.
Right. I mean, I don't face waiting periods.
Absolutely.
I don't have to have forced ultrasounds.
Exactly.
Or people lie to me.
Exactly. No pregnancies, no monthly menstrual cycles, no any of that. Like, there's just not, it's not there, So these are the things that obviously we as women deal with. And then to continue to have to deal with not knowing what the future is going to hold for us, it's a scary thing. It really is. And I have a daughter and she's 6. And, this stuff, it has to stop. We don't know what the future is going to hold for us as women and for our daughters and granddaughters. And, that's something that we are all concerned about.
Right. And, it's terrible healthcare policy and it's terrible politics.
It is.
Women in Iowa vote.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Most candidates make it a point to visit Iowa multiple times in their campaign. And, I'm still surprised at, the things that are happening here and there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. For the GOP to be doing this, there are many members of their party that are starting to look at the 2020 election, the presidential primary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here is, primary state caucus state.
Yeah,
caucus
absolutely.
state numero uno. And, this is going to be a campaign issue.
Absolutely.
For the presidential caucuses. Kasich is going to have to answer questions if he's going to challenge Trump on, hey, why did you threaten Planned Parenthood in Ohio? Because we've seen this in Iowa.
Yeah.
This is what Iowa voters are going to be saying to John Kasich.
And I see John Kasich taking that stance as well, though. I mean, he has not always been our favorite person, but he has definitely been on the side of, calling out right from wrong when it comes to Trump.
He needs to extend that to this area.
I agree. I agree. I don't know if you watched his town hall the other night with Senator Sanders, but there were some things that he definitely said in there that kind of alluded to him being against what's happening in the DC area, but he definitely cautioned that choice words should be used.
Yeah. I mean, Kasich's, it's if he stopped being a bad candidate, he would be a good candidate. Yeah, I think we talked about him and his probable primary challenge against Trump last time on the show. Since then, I was in a bookstore and I picked up a copy of his biography.
Oh, okay.
I did not buy it.
Okay, you just kind of looked at it.
There's part of me I would borrow it from the library just to skim it and see what it says. I'm not
that is
paying
so funny.
for it.
Yeah,
though.
I've had those books.
Yeah. But I picked it up, and the back cover, there's a little quote from him across the back cover, and any questioning in my mind as to whether or not Kasich is going to run for the presidency again was completely eliminated, because across the back cover it says, "I will not take the low road to the highest office in the land."
Okay.
And I'm like, you're not saying that about last time. You're saying that about this time.
Right.
And if you want to make this happen, John, stop attacking women.
Yeah, that would be a good message. Yeah, that definitely. I mean, that's just not. It doesn't make any sense. Once again, I'm always at a loss for words when we're talking about this, because it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. You
have a wife and 2 daughters.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Attacking women's health care is not a prescription for political success, because eventually, women are going to get sick and they're going to say, hey, where'd my health care go?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's going to be clear as day.
And women are coming out. I'm not going to say starting to. Women are coming out, and they're letting their voice be heard. And they're extremely vocal, and they're extremely, passionate about what's happening and how it's affecting all of us. So
right, yeah. Speaking of Mr. 45. Speaking of Trump, he had a hell of a week again.
We don't expect anything less from this guy, right?
Oh, geez.
At this point,
it's very funny. I was tweeting about it the other day. Reporters are just basically taking screenshots of press releases and tweeting them out. Normally Twitter images are something fun,
right?
Cats and dogs and puppies, and now it's just like, here is a picture of a press release. Yeah. So we now have a special prosecutor, Robert Mueller of the FBI, who I remember, from during the Bush administration and all the different investigations and all of that, and I was reading about when George Bush was trying to pass all of his warrantless wiretappings, and Mueller and Comey were involved in that. So it brought back some of the,
earlier memories of
the history.
Yeah.
Everybody's, pretty excited. They think he's going to dig up the dirt.
I think we're all hopeful in some way, shape, or form, but the way that things have been going, we're also being realistic.
Right. I'm not sure that it's a matter of digging up dirt. I think it's just if somebody can put the puzzle pieces in order, then we'll get to see the full picture. There's a former member of Parliament who runs a political blog, and she jumped on this theory, that Pence is also involved in all of this, and that Paul Ryan was involved in covering up money laundering from Russia, and this blogger, her claim is that Orrin Hatch, as fourth in line for the presidency, is already starting to get like daily briefings of intelligence, because she thinks that Trump and then Pence and then Ryan are all going to fall, and the intelligence community is looking down the line of succession of how far do we have to go, and here's Orrin Hatch, and she's predicting President Orrin Hatch.
Yeah, I haven't seen that theory, but that is extremely interesting.
I don't think it's going to come to that, but when this whole situation looks so much like Watergate.
Yeah, it does. Definitely resembles Watergate. I think at some level, it may even surpass that. I feel like there's so much going on right now that, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah. Well, I think Trump is going to, he's going to attempt more stunts. We've already seen him shooting missiles into Syria and dropping a, giant bomb in the middle of Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
Kind of just for headlines and polling bump. Exactly what he's going to do. We might end up in the middle of a long, hot summer.
Very hot.
Yeah.
It'll be more of, Trump doing something, his staff saying that didn't happen, and then him saying that it did happen. And so it's just, a revolving circle of what we've been dealing with here.
Right. We'll see. And he hired that guy from
I don't even really want to say his name either. Sheriff Clark. So he hired him. He accepted the appointment as the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. And as we all know, Sheriff Clark does not have the best record as sheriff. And a lot of people are saying that he has accepted this appointment because he knew that he was not going to be reelected again. When you have people who are dying in your jail, which I've heard, I believe 3 or 4 people and a baby that have died. People are going to start looking and start wondering, like, he speaks out so angrily against, Democrats and other folks. But he doesn't have the best record at this point. And I don't think he's going to have the best record as a Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security.
Right. It seems to be an appointment made to gather headlines. It's very much, I feel that a lot of the choices that the Trump administration do, they take a look at a decision and they say, hey, big picture, is this actually important?
Or it could be another distraction.
Yeah. I think the first one was, who do we need to run the energy department? Let's get Rick Perry, because then people are going to joke about, didn't he want to get rid of the Department of Energy? In the long run, it probably does matter some who's running that department.
Yeah.
But there are career professionals below that position who actually do the real work.
Exactly.
The guy at the
That's
top is just a
case.
political. And so I felt that Rick Perry was
I
trolling.
I would agree with that.
And, and then just yesterday they were talking about Joe Lieberman as the head of the FBI. And I'm like, no, this is more trolling. And I think Sheriff Clark.
And some of it is not funny.
No, it's not. It's not funny, but it's a decision by the Trump administration simply to provoke basically like, the worst migraine on behalf of those of us who are paying attention.
I agree. And for those of us who know what's going on and who, knows what's going to happen. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I don't see this as a, hey, this guy can lead. I see this as a, hey, this guy can generate headlines.
We all see it as this is a joke. Sheriff Clark is a joke. He's a sick joke. Yeah, he's a sick joke. But I mean, this is what the Trump administration does.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a lot to deal with. And so, on to other matters.
Yeah. On that cheery note, let's get it on. Let's look at the Pride calendar, our festival calendar coming up for June. So do you need me to read off the dates, or do you have them memorized?
I do not have them memorized. I should, as much as I have done with the scheduling and everything, but no, I know we're starting with Dayton Pride, June 3rd.
Yep, June 3rd, Dayton Pride. Very good. What's next?
That same weekend, I believe, is Pride in the CLE, which is also June 3rd.
There's two Pride festivals in Cleveland. Don't ask me to explain it. The first one here is this Pride in the CLE.
I can try to help a little bit with that. So Pride in the CLE, I think, is more of a overall Pride for I want to say it was something about honoring the whole city.
Okay.
Or something similar like that. I could be wrong, but I think this is what I read. And of course, Cleveland Pride has just been Cleveland Pride. Just is the same as any other Pride. Just honoring the LGBTQ community.
Okay, so we're doing both. We are
doing both.
The first one is Pride in the CLE. You said June 3rd. What comes next?
You're really testing me. Athens Pride is a new Pride, actually, and that's going to be on Sunday for a few hours. They are going to have a little parade and a little picnic there. I believe it's a parade and definitely a picnic. And so I believe, we will be there.
Sunday, June 11th.
June 11th, absolutely. That is at the Blackburn Temple, or is it Templeton Blackburn? Blackburn Templeton.
Check the show notes for details. There's several events throughout Athens all weekend.
Absolutely.
We did get information on it from some of their supporters. Templeton Blackburn Alumni Memorial Auditorium, 47 East Union Street in Athens.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, proud to support them in their new festivals. So check us out in Athens. What comes next?
Next would be Columbus Pride, and that's the June 16th and the 17th. Looking forward to it. It's always so much to do. I mean, so much surrounding the Pride here in Columbus. Stonewall does a great job, and so actually there's a new location this year. So that's Bicentennial and Genoa Park.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 233 Civic.
Sure. It's downtown. It had been up in Goodale Park where Comfest is, and now they're taking it back down to Bicentennial Park where the splash park is. The parade is always a ton of fun. We took our kids to the parade last year. They didn't quite know they're younger, so we had to explain a little bit of not only what it means to be gay, but also why they have a pride festival, and the fact that sometimes it's helpful to explain this to little kids. You just
because they're going to have questions. I have little kids and they have questions.
Yeah, we said sometimes there's people who fall in love with somebody different, and other people in the past have not liked that and got angry about it.
Absolutely.
And so they want to have pride in their relationships, which is why it's a pride parade.
Absolutely. And that's a really good way of explaining it. When it comes to, my daughter will eventually ask those questions. I'm definitely going to use that. That was a good way you put it to your children. So that they can understand and know that, we still respect and love everybody, no matter what, how different they are. And, if, we want to decide to do different things.
Right. Yeah. And, we our kids go to a public elementary school. It has a diverse, array of families. They definitely have known a ton of kids that, have two mommies or have two dads. They've just never really thought about it.
Right, exactly.
And, they just look at their classmates and see them all as friends.
Absolutely.
It's not until
they still have that innocence in them.
Yeah. It's not until you take them to a parade and then they look around, they're like, wait a minute.
Wait, what's going on here, Dad?
What is this? And so, we had to explain to kids, you may see somebody in their underwear today.
Yes.
Please do not point. So it was fun.
You know how funny that is? Because I just know that's what kids do though. Super hilarious. They will point, they will stare.
Yeah.
They were embarrassed the hell out of you.
Yeah. And
but you love them.
Yeah. It never occurred to them that our next door neighbors at the time, was two women raising a child.
Oh, okay.
They never thought about that for a second.
Right, absolutely.
And so then you realize it's like, oh, our kid has no idea that this is the thing, and that there's additional discussion.
And they learn things so much sooner nowadays. When we were young, there's just a lot that goes on more than when we were younger in their age. So I think it's beneficial to start to allow them to have questions and answer those so that they're not getting the wrong information from someone else.
Well, I grew up with a cornfield across the road from me until college. So
I didn't know you were so sheltered.
There was no pride parade going through our cornfield.
Yeah, I to be honest with you, I grew up in Warren and I never knew of pride parade till I moved to Columbus, which is sad because I got here when I was 7 years ago, maybe. And I was in my 20s. So I had never even been to a pride parade either.
Yeah.
But,
So
hey,
if you have kids, bring them to the Pride Parade. It's really cool. And actually we were proud at Pride because their daycare is run by a church, and the church was one of many churches that were marching in the parade.
Wow.
And all of a sudden this banner comes along and we're like, wait a minute, that's our daycare. Hey,
that's amazing.
The kids ran out to the middle of the street and we got a quick picture and try not to hold up the whole parade.
Right.
So it was cool.
No, that is cool. That's pretty awesome. So I'm glad to see everyone so involved now. I think more and more we're seeing more communities within Columbus and more organizations being involved in Pride. That's awesome.
Right. Okay, so that's 16th and 17th. What's next?
Oh, gosh.
Do you know?
After that, I believe, yikes, I think it's July, and that will be Youngstown.
Nope. Skipped.
Oh, I've skipped. Was it Cincinnati?
Cincinnati is June 24th.
Okay.
And
June 24th. And then after that, it's Youngstown, July 19th.
Nope.
Oh gosh, I'm
also
missing something
June
else.
24th.
It's also June 24th is Cleveland.
Yes, Cleveland and Cleveland Pride and Cincinnati Pride, both June 24th.
Yes,
we'll be at both.
We will be at both.
So you'll be down in Cincinnati. Annie will be up in Cleveland.
Yes.
And if you're in Columbus that weekend is also ComFest weekend.
Yes.
So that's like the world's busiest weekend.
Right. So I might even be here if we have another organizer on board by then who can go to Cincinnati. We'll see, but
I'm not holding my breath.
I know. I've never been to ComFest, so I really want to go. That's my excuse.
Well, ComFest is 3 days.
Oh, true.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yeah, it'll be exciting.
So have you guys also taken the kids to ComFest or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You're not afraid? Because I heard there's people that walk around just maybe shirtless and things like that.
There's some boys. Extreme shirtlessness. Yeah, the boys. In the past, I don't think they've even noticed that there are topless women there. ComFest is a hippy dippy, tie dye, tie dye skirt, no shirt, mug of beer, dancing in the park under the trees. It's a lot of fun.
But you guys wear clothes, right?
Yes, we wear clothes in our booth.
I was gonna say staff wears clothes unless I'm joking.
Sometimes not shoes. It depends on the it's that vibe.
Yeah, the hippie-ish. Let's just go out
and the crowd is perfect because it's a very pro-choice crowd.
Okay.
They come up to the booth not asking what is this all about. Right. They're just asking what now? What can we do? What do we sign?
That's awesome.
Really for all the Pride festivals and ComFest.
Yeah.
These folks are tuned into what's happening in terms of reproductive health care, all of this.
They're concerned and they want to get involved. So that's amazing.
Yeah. So these festivals are not only times when we need volunteers, they're also really great times for volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who wants to volunteer, visit our website. We'll have our forms up soon so you can sign up. Pride Fest, ComFest.
Yeah, check the show notes. You mentioned Youngstown. That one's at the end of July. Toledo is in August. So we'll get around to those midsummer.
Absolutely.
That's
so we
the
have a lot to
festival
look
schedule.
forward to. I mean, there's a lot that's going on. And so we'll just keep everybody posted.
Yep. So look for all that information in the show notes. Sign up to volunteer. Also keep your eye on our Twitter account. We'll be tweeting about State House hearings.
Gabe is the best at that. You really keep everybody just
I'm
up on their toes.
I'm trying. There is a hearing Tuesday morning. I think it's Senate Bill 145. It's another one of these garbage set of restrictions. It'll probably be a brief hearing around 10:30 or so. We'll be tweeting from that. If you want to come to the State House to come to a committee hearing, get a hold of us. Shoot us a tweet, send us an email.
Absolutely.
Volunteer at ProChoiceOhio.org. Sign up for stuff. And keep listening to the podcast. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.